All right, we're back with another episode of Wild Bills Podcast. Today is August 5th, finally in the month of August. We're in the back half of the summer months. The final two months of this MLB season. We're finally starting to see how the pennant race is going to shape up, how the division is going to end up being. Truthfully, I think the division leaders right now are the ones that are going to win, unless something crazy happens. So let's go over the last week of Chicago Cubs baseball. We had two series, one against the Cincinnati Reds. Dropped that series 1-2. I didn't think there was any way we were really going to win that with the starting pitching that we had. Jameson Taillon and Justin Steele had not the best starts, which really set the tone for the rest of the team. Not really much you can do. With that, there's obviously that big offensive explosion in Game 3 to salvage the series, to at least not get swept, which I'm glad happened. Would have been nice to see a little bit of that to kind of back up the pitchers in the first two games. But this team has shown you throughout the season that they're not going to do that. So it is what it is. I'm glad that the Cubs did not get swept there. Then we had a 4-game set against St. Louis, which we thankfully showed up a little better for. Out of the 4 games, we won 3 of them. 3-1, very easily. Could have been a sweep. So I'm not super stoked on not having that, knowing that they were in good position to take that sweep, especially going in that third game. The Cubs gave up 4 runs in the last 2 innings to give up the win. I mean, having a 5-1 lead going into the 8th, you most of the time would feel pretty good. But once again, the Cubs show you exactly who they really are going into those late inning situations. Hector Neris blew another save, which is really the big story of the series and the season, really, for the entire pitching staff. It's tough to pen that solely on Hector Neris. We obviously had those struggles early on in the season with Alzolay, but that's been the biggest answer that the Cubs have been really looking for this entire season, just trying to see who we can rely on. So far, we know that there's absolutely nobody they can rely on, but can't be really upset after a 4-3 week net positive going into, I don't think the Cubs are going to make the playoffs at this point. I've lost just about all hope, but it's nice to see at least a little bit of a push, a little bit of fight in the team. It's great to see them score 3 runs in the 9th during the first game of that St. Louis series. Mike Tauchman being the big guy this whole past weekend, which I'm super happy with. He's an Illinois native, I think I've mentioned before, from Palatine in the suburbs. So that's cool to see. You never get upset with seeing the Cubs win a Friday afternoon game in the Wrigleyville dark blue uniforms. So that's good to see also. And PCA, 20 steals on the season. That's good to see. It's a fast guy. Hopefully he retains that speed through these upcoming years. I think he'll be a focal point of the outfield. And having a guy that can just take second base at will is super nice. That generates a lot more scoring opportunities. So that I'm hoping it's something that the Cubs can hang on to and capitalize, seeing as runs are very difficult to come by. It'll be nice to at least, whenever they do decide to get a hit, if there's somebody on second, it makes a huge difference compared to if they were on first and could only move station to station, especially with the speed that someone like PCA has. He can score easily on a reasonable single. So it's a good note. Justin Steele and Jameson Taillon did make up for the not great starts that they had in Cincinnati with some pretty good starts against St. Louis. So that was encouraging to see as well. That's really all I got about this week of Cubs baseball. We got the Minnesota Twins coming up. That'll be a challenge. I believe they're leading the AL Central. Hoping for a good showing. The Cubs seem to work really well against first place teams in the American League. I think I saw a stat the other day. The National League team with the best record against the American League is the Cubs. So if by any sort of chance and luck that we make it to the World Series, this is boding pretty well for the Chicago Cubs. 6 games behind in the wild card. So it looks like those teams that are in the race have kind of built up. They haven't slipped during this week. However, the Cubs are 8.5 games behind in the division, which is better than where they were a week before. So Milwaukee's slipping a little bit. I I think they still kind of got the division in the bag, but we're there waiting, rubbing our little hands together, foaming at the lips, smelling blood in the water. We're in the area, and we know that we'll be real happy to take that division away. If by some miracle the slip continues and the rise of the Chicago Cubs also continues. But that's a whole lot of wishful thinking, especially at this point in the season, knowing who the Cubs are. Going over to the South Side, just to touch on that really quick, that whole situation. The White Sox have lost 20 games in a row. I believe the MLB record for games lost in a row is 23. I'm not sure who they have on their schedule, but no matter who it is, you got to have a good feeling about this being a historic run for the White Sox. And it's sad to see. We'll just talk about them for a little bit, because I listened to this interview with, I think it's just the guy that covers the White Sox on the Mid Show, the Chicago Barstool show. Didn't realize Eloy Jimenez got traded to the Baltimore Orioles. So it seems to me that the Cubs actually ended up winning that trade in which they received Jose Quintana. I know that was a big topic of discourse when it went down. I'll give him points. It looks good for Eloy to come into Wrigley and have his best games there with the White Sox against the Cubs, the team that traded him away. Doesn't really do him very much good now. He's in the Baltimore Orioles. Had a pretty good game the other day. I think he had 3 hits in one day. So, and then they were talking about all these free agent signings that just didn't pan out. Yasmani Grandal, Paul DeYoung, Tommy Pham, none of them on the team anymore. The latter two being not bad signings, but they're not, somebody that you want to build your franchise around. Their stars didn't pan out. Yohan Moncada didn't pan out, who was really the only one that I didn't believe in personally. He was the one that didn't blow me away. Jose Abreu was a stud, and he was for a good amount of time. It just seems like they missed that window to really capitalize his abilities. Lucas Giolito, they couldn't really build around him. They had the 2 young guys that I don't think they have either of them anymore. Dylan Cease, Michael Kopech. None of those guys are on the team anymore, which is sad. It's a rebuild gone absolutely wrong. That really sucks to see. Even I don't want to see that, and I don't care about the White Sox. But, like I said, I'm sure we'll be witnesses of history very soon. Going off into other sports, we had the Olympics going on. I don't think I mentioned it even in the previous show. United States, as predicted, dominating basketball. It's not even particularly fair, so I'm not really going to touch on it very much. It's nice to see all those dudes play together, but honestly, to a point, it's kind of boring. It's cool to see the super quick runs where they'll just put 10 up on the board in what feels like a minute. See Steph Curry at a shot, LeBron driving down, throwing a lob to Anthony Davis. Is Anthony Davis on the team? He is. He is. I never do good enough research for these one-off segments. The American 100-meter, Noah Lyles, that was cool to see. This is the most exciting race, I think, for humans. The most exciting race really being the Belmont Stakes. Or the Kentucky Derby, excuse me. But as far as humans go, very proud to say that Noah Lyles, the American representative for the 100-meter, took home the gold. Fastest man on earth from the U.S. in a picture finish. What's the phrase? I can't remember. Photo finish. By the chest, by the tiniest margin. Smallest margin in I don't know how many years. So good to see that. Simone Biles keeps dominating. Almost to the level of Michael Phelps. So we got some big firepower in the Olympics as a part of the United States team over the years. It's good to see. Simone Biles, a Bears fan, Chicago Bears fan, by way of her boyfriend Jonathan Owens, who was there cheering her on. a little more on the Bears momentarily. One of the more exciting events that I got to watch was the 4x4 relay. It's just crazy how fast these people are moving. And then, like, one of my favorite things also, I think, I'm not sure, I don't think we're really winning too much for swimming. Not as much as in previous years, obviously. Michael Phelps set the tone for that, and we haven't really gotten back to his level, which is kind of a crazy, like, way to measure anything. He kind of ruined it for everybody else moving forward. But anyways, anytime I see, the fastest swimmers in the world, it's crazy. These people are the craziest athletes in the world. They do it better than anybody else. It kind of makes me giggle where they're following all these super fast, talented, the best athletes in the world in the water. And with the camera, you see people walking along the side of the pool at a super leisurely rate, and I think it's kind of funny. Like, that's as fast as they really go. Obviously it's a different perspective because they are very much swimming using their entire body, but to know that that's really the speed that they're going is kind of funny. So that's what I got for the Olympics. We also had the Hall of Fame game this past week where we saw some inductees going into the Hall of Fame. A couple from the Bears, one being Devin Hester. One of the guys that really got me hooked on, first of all, football, secondly, the Chicago Bears. I'll never forget his rookie season, really following that. That was the first season of the Bears and the NFL in general that I really followed from start to finish. So crazy to see him go in. He is the best return, kickoff, punt, return man of all time. He changed the game, and that was before all the new rules and before the league kind of turned to just doing everything as a touchback. He was a weapon. He was a legitimate weapon. He was better than the offense on most days. And then we also had Steve McMichael, Mongo, from the 85 Bears defense. Also had a stint as a professional wrestler, battling ALS, so not able to be there presently. So his wife was able to accept on his behalf, and they took the bus over to his house, had his teammates surrounding him. Excuse me. Sad to see that ALS was doing that to him. I'm glad that he was able to get his roses while he's still around. And so, also had Julius Peppers go in. I think he'll go in as a Carolina Panther. I think that was always written. But nice to see that so much good talent has gone through this organization. There's surely there's been plenty of Super Bowls in that case. Anyways, at the Hall of Fame game, no real starters playing in this, so I didn't really keep that good of a watch on it. We had the debut of the new kickoff rules, which I think is good for the game. It at least creates more of an exciting play out of the kickoff than what has happened the past several years of just straight touchbacks, moving the kickoff point even closer to the end zone. I still have yet to see the creativity. That being because there was only one preseason game with it in. So I'm excited to see how some of these special teams coordinators kind of develop up some schemes, some wedge blocks. I don't even know if we can wedge. We're just seeing what they can really do, seeing how different athletic guys can take advantage of the new rules. But I'm never one to complain about more action in a game. So that's cool. I think there's a quarterback controversy for the Bears. Not for QB1, but for QB2. Because Brett Rippon was looking real good. It felt like the Houston Texans were really neglecting that second level between the cover 2 safety and the linebackers. Because Brett Rippon was really just exposing that seam. He hit Colin Johnson, who I'm not sure. I think he went to Texas. He's like 6'6", big body guy. He had one pass go right through his hands, and then he caught everything else that was thrown at him. Had a touchdown, had a super good contested catch down the sideline. So that's a name to see and keep track of going through these next few preseason games. See if he proves a spot for himself on the roster. Yeah, if he can improve, that's even better to have even more people on the roster that can contribute in a positive way. So that's cool to see. So not a whole lot of stock you can really put into this game, but it was nice to see football back on the screen. And so that's what I got for this week. Let me know in the comments section if you want to sound off, if you want to disagree with anything I have to say, or just want to, say what's up. Go ahead and let me know. So I'll end it right here. Thanks again to all my loyal fans. See you next time. For today, it's over.